Awards.
Hello and welcome to Cyber Skills Live. My name's Daniel.
And I'm Craig.
And we're interested in all things tech and security. Today, you're going to get hands-on and learn cybersecurity skills in this interactive activity. You've seen movies and TV shows where tech-savvy criminals hack into governments and other business security systems. But it's not fiction. Hackers regularly steal confidential information and data from governments and companies. And that's why employers are calling out for more people with cybersecurity skills. And in the future, they're going to be looking out for even more people. And that will give you lots of opportunities to protect us from cybercrime.
That's right, Daniel. We need more people with digital skills who are going to help us make us more resilient from cyber attacks. Almost half of all businesses in Scotland have identified a digital skills gap in cybersecurity. So a career in cybersecurity means you'll play a key role in protecting our digital world. We're coming to you today from a telephone exchange on the Isle of Mull. Okay, not really. We're coming to you from our digital dens here in Glasgow. But we know hundreds of you are looking forward to taking part today. We're also lucky to have Kirsty join in with us to answer some of your questions. Hello, Kirsty.
Thank you. Hello everyone, it's great to be part of the lesson today. My name is Kirsty. I'm the Cyber Resilience Community Lead at the Scottish Business Resilience Centre. So my role is to help organisations improve their cyber resilience through educational and engagement activities. So I work in partnership with people like Police Scotland and the Scottish Government to help share information about the latest threats, news, scams, updates, right across Scotland, covering cybersecurity and cyber resilience topics. Now, if you're tweeting along with us today in the lesson, then make sure to use the hashtag CyberSkillsLive, and our handle is @DigitalWorldHQ. And I will be back shortly to answer some of your questions throughout the lesson, but for now, it's back to Daniel and Craig.
Thanks, Kirsty, and thanks everyone for joining. We've got people joining from all over the country today. We've got people from Carlogie Primary School, Denny High School, Mearns Primary School. Hello, welcome, thanks for joining. Prestwick Academy, Redwell Primary School, you're tuning in. St Paul's Roman Catholic Academy in Dundee, Wallace Academy, and also Dunblane High School. So thanks for joining us.
Also, Daniel, I've got a few more here. Gala Shields Academy, thanks for joining us. Kings Park in Glasgow, thanks for joining us. Leavenmouth Academy, thank you as well. Moffat Academy, Tobermory High School, this is a local one for you. We've also got some colleges taking part today as well. I can see Glasgow Clyde College, hello, thanks for joining us at your Cardonald campus. And also the City of Glasgow College, thanks for joining.
We've got a few of you joining from further afield, so we've given shout outs at different points. But I'd like to say hello to the Coding Club who are joining us from Texas.
Hello. Today you're going to become digital detectives and see how you can use your digital skills to work out how a data leak happened. Now, our activity is based on a real life job, a digital forensics analyst.
Tobermory Telecom are investigating a potentially significant data breach on their website. The phone and broadband provider, which has over 150,000 customers, said banking details and personal information could have been accessed. We know that potentially all of their customers could be affected, but it's too early to know what data has been stolen. An infamous cybercriminal group have claimed responsibility for the leak. Your job today is to use digital forensics to investigate how the leak happened. There's 3 things to find out. Is the leak genuine? How serious is it? Who is responsible? It's time to get started. Get ready to learn about digital forensics as you start the investigation.
Sounds like we've got quite the situation on our hands. A data leak to investigate over at Tobermory Telecoms. So what you need to do now is go to cyberskillslesson.com if you're not there already and follow the instructions. There'll be a button at the top of the page that says start the live lesson. You want to press that. So Craig, Tobermory Telecoms, is that who you get your broadband from?
Thankfully, not this time. The activity will work in any modern web browser, so make sure that you're using Google Chrome or Firefox or even Edge, and make sure you're on the website below here, cyberskillslesson.com. At the top of the page, you'll see how to spot a data leak. That's what you're going to be joining us doing today, so make sure you click on Start the Live Lesson, and then you can follow the instructions. We know that there's hundreds of you playing today, and Daniel, you've already seen how many are starting to sign in just now.
Yeah, I think there's almost 200 of you already sort of logged in and getting started. That's brilliant to see.
So while you're playing, if at some point a question is a bit slow to load or the website is moving a bit slowly, just what to do is keep watching us, keep watching the video, and then try again in a minute. We know that there's lots of people playing, and we're going to be saving everyone's progress automatically, so you're not going to lose anything. So yeah, if at some point you're answering a question and it doesn't seem to be moving on, or it's going a bit slow for you, that's fine. Just wait a minute, keep watching us and try it again. So Daniel, what are data leaks and what does that mean for a company and its customers?
Yeah, it's probably a good place to start off, right? So a data leak, or a data breach as they're sometimes called, is where personal information that gets leaked online when it shouldn't have. So this has happened to some of the biggest companies and the biggest organizations in the world. And one way that a data leak can happen is if a cybercriminal manages to break into or hack into a computer system and then steals a database. But sometimes data breaches happen by accident because a database hasn't been properly protected and then someone just stumbles across it as they're browsing the internet. Either way, it's really serious, as data leaks, they contain details about customers or confidential information. So that's just stuff about people like you or me. So things like real names, email addresses, contact information are really commonly contained in data leaks. But sometimes there's even more sensitive stuff as well. Things like passwords or home addresses can be in there too. So in recent years, data breaches have affected lots of different massive companies. So for example, Facebook, Uber, Nintendo, Sony PlayStation Network, they've all been involved in data breaches in the last few years.
That's right, Daniel. It seems like every day there's a story in the news about another company being involved in a data breach. And it does affect a lot of people. We'd like to know if you've been involved in a data breach. So as part of this activity, we've asked you. So Daniel, can we have a look at some of the results so far?
Yes, let's bring them up. Let's have a look. So I can see that it's quite an even split, but over 100 of you have said that you've not been involved in a data breach. 78 of you have said that you have, and 77 aren't quite sure.
Wow, 78, that's still quite a lot, isn't it?
That is a lot.
Do you know what, Daniel? I think most people don't even realise if they've been involved in a data breach. If you were in a data breach that happened maybe 5 or so years ago, maybe when you first were starting to sign up to things online, you might not even know that some of those personal details have been shared and released. It's only really recently, Daniel, that the law has changed about that.
Yeah, that's right, Craig. So it's actually only in the last 2 or 3 years that companies have actually even had to tell you if your data's been involved in a data breach. Before that, they didn't even need to let you know. So most people weren't even aware that the details have been. But, you know, it's good that you do get notified now, but sometimes companies don't quite do enough to make it really obvious. So we're going to come back to this poll probably a bit later and see if the results have changed a bit as more of you have joined, because at the moment it is quite an even split, although it looks like No's pulling even slightly further ahead at the moment.
So Daniel, we better get to the actual task at hand here. We've got hundreds of people helping us today. You're going to be experiencing what it's like to be a digital forensics specialist. What is happening today?
Yeah, so we're going to be working with Rebecca Reed, and Rebecca's the Chief Security Officer, so the CSO over at Tobermory Telecoms, and she's leading the investigation on their side. And she says that the company, Tobermory Telecoms, has over 150,000 customers. So that's a lot of people that they supply broadband and phone services to. And apparently, a criminal hacker group, the so-called Tobermory Warriors, have claimed that they've stolen Tobermory Telecom's customer database and they've just released it online.
Oh no, not the so-called Tobermory Warriors. They have a history of doing this type of cybercrime. They were responsible, Daniel, for the hack on Scotia Rail. But having said that, they also claimed to have hacked other people in the past, people like Albert Airways. And when the forensic analysts completed their investigation, well, it turned out they hadn't hacked them at all. They just fabricated the database. They'd made a fake version of it.
Yeah, and do you know what? That's actually quite common. It's almost like a competition with all of these criminal groups. They all want to get the headlines for carrying out the worst cyber attack or the biggest data breach or something. So sometimes they just make up data breaches. They make up a database and they put nonsense data in it and they release it and say, oh, this is that company's database. And a lot of people quite often believe it, but we don't want to cause panic. So we want to make sure that this leaked database is actually the real deal, because that will dictate what happens next with Rebecca's investigation. So at the moment,
I can see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can see already you're working through it. You're working through the first step of the activity, which is about trying to work out if the database that has been leaked is genuine. So hello to St Patrick's Primary School. I know you're taking part, Primary 7. Thanks for getting started. I can see some other people here, Daniel, who are doing it just now, working through the activity.
Yeah, let's take a look. So we have this screen here, and this here is our our data dashboard, and we can actually see all of you who are taking part. We can see where you're joining from and where it is that you've kind of got up to. So I can see Josh at Denny High School, you've been looking at the software version that was used to create the database. Ewan at Wallace Hall, you've been looking at the structure of the database. And you know what, checking the structure of the database is one of the first things that any forensics team will do. Because
Aidan from Denny High School, you've been looking at the software versions. Sakib from Glasgow Clyde College, you've identified the broadband package as well. So this is great. We've got a lot of mix of people here doing from primary school right through to high school and colleges, Daniel, all taking part today.
Yeah, and there's some great avatars coming up as well on our dashboard. It's moving so fast that they're sometimes not loading, but they'll appear just as we keep going on. So yeah, the first thing that a lot of you did was look at the structure to see if, you know, is this leaked database, does it have the same columns, does it got the same information as the real database would have had? And this will help us verify if the Tobermory Warriors really have stolen our data. And do you know what? The overwhelming consensus that I'm getting from everyone is that it is the same, Craig. The structure does match the real deal. So that doesn't necessarily mean it is real, but you know, they would need to know what data is contained in the real database, and they've obviously made some effort if they have made it up.
That's it. They're looking and they're checking basically to see, do the columns of this supposedly leaked database match what we know to be the actual database? And as you said, Daniel, it looks like from the evidence that's coming in just now, that is the case. That's what's happening. The next stage that people are going on to then, once they've verified the structure of the database, they're looking at things like, okay, well, what software was used to create this database? Because when you create a file, sometimes it creates a little signature in it that tells you what was the application that was used and what version was that software. And this is a technique that can be used by forensic analysts too, because files always contain this metadata which tells you about how it's created. In this case, the supposedly leaked database is being made using a really sort of like old version of the MySQL program. So it's a strange one. It's from quite a few years ago. And basically, because that seems to match what we know that Tobermory Telecoms actually use, that's the same version number that they use. To me, Daniel, that's another really like compelling bit of evidence that this isn't a fake, that this is a real leak.
Yeah, because you've got to ask yourself sort of, if you were just making up some data, how would you know to use that really old version of MySQL? You would just use the up-to-date one, because that's what you can download. So, you know, this is sort of pointing to it being real, because the leaked database has the same structure. You've just found that out. And then a lot of you have found that the software version matches up too. So because of that, I think we need to kind of treat it as if it is real for the moment. as we kind of move on with our investigation. So, you know, the next step is to assess how bad it is, how serious is it, what data is contained within this database, how many people do we need to let know, does it contain personal information? And personal information is just anything that you could use to identify a specific customer. So it could be like their name, or it could be their customer ID.
Could be their email address as well. Like, I think I know usually in a database, like I'm thinking of what might be in a customer database. Think about all that sensitive personal information, Daniel. It's probably people's addresses, probably people's email addresses, maybe even other like important things like your bank card details if you're paying the bill and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, and do you know what, Craig? Nathan at Leaving Myths just spotted that there is definitely personal information in the database. So is Ritter
Thomas
at Tobermory.
as well, Thomas from Tobermory High School.
Egan at Trinity High School has spotted personal information as well. So it looks like all signs are pointing that there is personally identifiable information in here. And you know that
how lucky are we, Daniel, to have hundreds of people doing all this work for us? Like, we've got a whole team. We don't just have to sit and do it ourselves here.
I know Rebecca is really appreciative of all this help that she's getting today. She's been letting me know she can't be with us on the stream because she's really busy, but she is sometimes in my ear, and you know she's really thankful for all of the help.
Thank you to Liam from Gala Shields Academy, Morven from Leavenmouth as well, Milsos from Gala Shields. I saw someone there from Trinity, but they moved off my screen so quickly. Well, people finished this section, Daniel. Maybe Kirsty could answer some of the questions that have been coming in.
Yeah, let's bring Kirsty up and ask if she's had any questions. Kirsty, you ready? Yes. Okay, let's go to Kirsty.
Yeah, we've had some great questions coming through. I've got one here. It says, what is a job where you can look into data breaches? Yeah, so you're investigating a data breach today. So what would you do if that was your job? Well, you could become a forensic computer analyst. So what do you do as a forensic computer analyst? Well, you might do things like assist the police with major crime investigations. They can recover computer-based evidence that can be used in criminal trials. Or you might help businesses try and recover by looking at valuable data that's been stolen or destroyed and see if you can help them get back up and running after a cyber attack. Or you could investigate and report data breaches or other hacking attempts. So you would try and look at what the latest sort of crime techniques are and then come up with new ways to try and deal with them. Now, I know a lot of you will be asking how much are forensic computer analysts paid? Well, the average salary for this job in Scotland is £36,400. Now, that is a much higher average than any other job in Scotland. So cybersecurity is definitely an area that is well paid. Now, there's lots more information about other jobs within cybersecurity, and you can see all of them on the digitalworld.net website, so do check them out. And for now, thanks very much for that question, but I'll hand you back over to Craig and Daniel.
Thanks, Kirsty. We've had some people as well tweeting us, so thanks Gala Shields Academy. I'm glad your class are enjoying it and taking part too. How are people doing, Daniel, at doing this investigation?
Yeah, let's take a look at our dashboard again. So I can see that AC at Gala Shields, you've managed to spot personal information in the Megan at Gala Shields, you've verified the leak as genuine. So is Aidan at Leaving Myth. Mrs. P, you've managed to spot some personal information in the database. So it looks like lots of you are confirming kind of our suspicions that there is definitely personal information, looking at the different bits of the database that you've all got. So, you know, I think we're getting a strong consensus that this is the real deal.
We've got enough evidence here, Daniel.
Yeah.
I think that there is just so much to suggest that this is a real leak that from now on we just have to treat it as a real leak. So we've established how serious it is, and at this point Tobermory Telecoms are probably going to need to alert the authorities about this and any affected customers to let them know what's happened. So the people that they might be having to notify, Daniel, of this, if a company suffered a data breach, who would be the people you would report to?
Yeah, there's a few different people. So the people you definitely have to notify is the ICO, or the Information Commissioner's Office. And they're the part of government that set the rules about what data you can collect, how do you keep it, you have to keep it secure and so on. So you have to let them know if there's been a data breach. And actually the ICO give quite big fines out to companies if it's been found out that they haven't stored it in a secure and safe way. So the ICO is definitely one that Rebecca will need to contact. Another one is the National Cybersecurity Centre, so the NCSC. So they're another bit of government, and they're the bit of government that's all about keeping the country safe from cyber attacks. So they work with the police and all different sort of organisations, even intelligence services, because it could be that, if this was a big cyber attack on Tobermory Telecoms, well, maybe other providers have also been affected. Maybe this is just the tip of the iceberg and no one's reported it yet. So, they'll have a bigger picture and they might be able to help too. So that's the two organisations I think that I'd recommend that Rebecca gets in touch with.
Well, while Rebecca does that, I think we should move on, Daniel. I think we should move on to the next phase. We strongly suspect that this leak is genuine, but we don't know how it happened at this point. So let's make a start of investigating this. You're going to follow the instructions on your app on the screen. You're going to help us investigate what was it that caused this leak. And the first thing that we're going to investigate is, could it be a virus, Daniel? That for a lot of people, when they think of a cyber attack, they might think of a virus to begin with. Could it be that?
Yeah, I think that's a sensible place to start. So when we're talking about viruses, we're talking about malware, so malicious software, and that includes viruses, trojans, and worms. And this malicious software, this malware, cybercriminals use it to secretly transfer files from computer systems and networks. So I think investigating to see if there's malware present is a really good place to start. And the tool we're going to use is antivirus software. So probably something that you have on your own computers as well. And we can scan to check for malware.
That's it. So normally if you were using this software at home, it would probably be doing this scan for you automatically. So you wouldn't be always going in to tell it to do it. But in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to use a terminal. So you're going to type the commands in, and we're basically going to force a scan to happen right now. So rather than waiting until the next automatic scan happened, let's just force one to happen right now. Mrs. Kerrigan's class, Daniel, from Lavenmouth Academy, she's got her S1 class working on this just now, doing the virus scanning. So thank you very much for helping us with that. And yeah, what does a virus... So before we do that scan, Daniel, the first thing that we have to do is what's called update the virus definitions. What does that mean?
Yeah, so the virus definitions is basically like your dictionary of all the known viruses. So the way antivirus software works is it looks through every file that's on your computer and it checks it against this definitions, which is a list of known bad files of viruses or malware. And it goes, is that on the list? No, that's fine. Is that on the list? No, that's fine. And basically viruses change, they mutate a bit like biological viruses too. So we need to keep the definitions up to date so that we know we're searching for the most up-to-date list of all the threats, all the sort of the bad software. So that's the first step you need to do, is you need to download that definitions file. But Craig, it's a bit different downloading the definitions on the Tobermory Telecom system. If you were doing this on your own computer, it probably happens in the background as part of a software update, whereas we have to type in commands into a terminal. And terminals are something that probably most of us at home don't use much, but actually it's quite common to use a terminal in security system in the security industry, isn't it, Craig?
Yeah, it's just another way of interacting with your computer. So rather than clicking on something and dragging it, all you're doing is you're typing the instructions straight into the machine. Sometimes it's good to choose things from a menu. It helps you see what's happening, but often when you're working in like cybersecurity or a technical role, you're running the same instructions again and again. And sometimes they're very specific versions of those instructions. And actually, it's quicker to just type the instructions, like give the command what you want it to do into a computer. So that's exactly what you're doing in this system. You're typing in those commands and you're downloading those virus updates and those virus definition updates, and then you're running your scan manually. Daniel, we've asked people how often do they check their antivirus, or how often do they run a scan?
Yeah, I can't wait to see what the results are here. So let's bring them up. Let's have a look. So,
Okay.
it looks like the biggest segment is never.
Never. 122 people at least have said never.
Yeah.
A lot of people saying weekly. Some people saying when they remember. Some people saying monthly. Continuously scanning as well.
And even sort of daily scanning. So I think a lot of you that are saying never probably are actually scanning your computer every day, not just every day, continuously, because almost all newish computers, and definitely phones and tablets, they have antivirus software built in, and they just scan in the background. So, you know, it won't scan every single file on your computer every second, but all the key folders, it does continually scan them. But it is still good to do it on a sort of semi-regular basis to do a full scan, and I can see that quite a few of you do that weekly or monthly, looking at those results.
So Daniel, let's bring up our data dashboard. Let's see what people are saying. I'm noticing here that Arwin there from Leavenmouth's been able to update the software. James from King's Park Secondary updated the antivirus software. But what I'm seeing quite a lot here, Daniel, is like Sophie and Bethany from Denny and Sophie from Denny as well. Both have worked out that the leak wasn't caused by malware. So the information that I've got coming in here, Daniel, is the virus scan is clean. There are no viruses on this machine. It is probably not being caused by malware. Does that surprise you?
It doesn't really surprise me, because actually, although malware is something that we need to take really seriously, it's not that often that viruses or worms cause data breaches. So another telecoms company, but this time in America, Verizon, who are a massive telecoms company, they found out last year that only 17% of data breaches were caused by viruses or other malware. So although viruses and malware do account for almost 1 in 5 data breaches, so it was definitely still worth checking. It's not that surprising to me that this one perhaps wasn't.
Daniel, before we move on to this next section, then I can see Kirsty's just sent me a message. I think she's got a couple of more questions or a question to answer.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because I can
Should we let her in?
Yeah, I can see a lot of your scans are still running, and let's be as sure as we can be. Let's let them finish. So let's speak to Kirsty while your scans are finishing.
Thanks. Yes, I've got another question. It says, what should you study to get a job in cybersecurity? It's a good question. Well, if you're currently at school, then some useful subjects to pick would be computing science, mathematics, and physics. The skills that you learn in these can be really useful when it comes to working or studying in cybersecurity. Now, there's also a qualification that is available to all schools in Scotland, and it's called the Cybersecurity National Progression Award, or NPA, and a selection of the cybersecurity NPAs cover data security, which is part of the cybersecurity that you're doing today, investigating a data breach. So you should ask your teacher if this is something that you're able to do at your school. And if you're thinking about studying at college or university, then there's courses available across the country. And these cover everything in different areas of cybersecurity. Some specialise in digital forensics or network security. And most computing courses, most computing science courses will also cover the fundamentals of cybersecurity as well. So those are also worth checking out. Now, if you want to study and get paid at the same time, then you might want to think about doing a modern apprenticeship. So this is when you'll get paid to do a job, but you'll also spend time studying the subject at college. So for lots of people, this is a great way to earn while you learn. So there's a modern apprenticeship available in information security, which would be a really good fit if you're interested in data breaches. Thanks for that question. I hope that answered that one for you, but for now, it's back to Craig and Daniel.
Thanks, Kirsty. I love how many different ways and routes there are into cybersecurity. And there's so many different fields and specializations within cybersecurity. It's not just cybersecurity. You can really find your niche. And, digital forensics, I think, is a really interesting option because there's always new types of cyber attacks happening and data breaches happening by different methods. There's a lot going on.
Daniel, that's nice that you're thinking about future careers and job opportunities in this area, but we've got a data leak to investigate right now. Can we get back to work?
We do indeed.
So, if it wasn't caused by a virus, then, what else could it have been? Well, I'm going to suggest, Daniel, that maybe it was an employee, maybe it was a member of staff at the company, because most data breaches aren't caused by sort of cyber attacks or sort of software. They're usually caused by people. So employees who either do something by accident, so for example, they might lose a USB stick or leave a laptop unattended, or sometimes it might be a rogue employee, someone who works at the company and wants to harm the business. Now, the reason why it's usually a person that causes a data breach is you don't have to hack them. They already have access to the personal information there. They have access to those sensitive files. So we wanted to find out, Daniel, if there could be like a motive.
Yeah, and this is a question that we're asking you. You can let us know, like, why do you think an employee might want to harm the business? There's all sorts of reasons why someone might be doing it. So let's have a look at what some of you are saying. So I can see what you're answering these questions.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like you're being watched?
So Ailey's saying maybe someone's just lost a USB stick that the data was on.
Hayden says to get them back, so it's like revenge.
Like that theory. Morgan saying they could be a double agent, so maybe they work for a rival or like the nemesis company of Tobermory Telecoms. I'm not sure who that is, but yeah, they must have competitors in maybe
Veil of leaving Vodafone. I don't know. The Sadfa thinks it might be to harm the company. Mark thinks either an employee has a grudge with the company or did it on complete accident. Yeah, again.
Yeah. Layla's saying maybe someone's paid them to do it. Greg's saying something very similar, sort of maybe someone's bribed them to do this. Maybe there's someone else involved, another group that wants this database.
Kira thinks that maybe it was put onto a USB stick and then the USB stick was lost. That is a really common way that data breaches happen. In fact, there was a story in the news very recently about a data breach that happened as a result of a laptop being left somewhere, and a lot of information was shared about that.
Yeah, you'd be amazed how often staff lose equipment that has confidential information. And then it's even worse because, if the information was properly secured, then it shouldn't matter if it got lost because it should be protected with encryption and passwords, but sometimes that doesn't happen. David and Carly.
Evelyn. Sorry.
No,
you go first, Daniel.
Okay. David and Carly both said maybe they haven't been treated well in their job, so maybe again some sort of revenge, maybe perhaps.
Yeah, Evelyn has said to blackmail the boss. Daniel, some of these might sound a bit outlandish, but I think what this shows you is that, see, to have a job in digital forensics, you can't just look at the sort of technical side of it. You do have to think about the human side of it as well. Like, you've all done a really good job here of identifying the types of emotions that might lead to a data breach. So like being angry at someone, trying to get revenge, trying to, harm them or cause a problem as well. These are genuine reasons why these things might happen.
Yeah, definitely. But just thinking of how we can move our investigation forward, thankfully, Tobermory Telecoms have a really good logging system on their servers. So every time someone opens up a file or maybe they edit a file, or if they copy a file, or if they delete a file, anytime an employee does that, it gets put into a log so that we can look back on. And this is really common in big organizations, but for us, it means we can use it as a trail of evidence. We can see who's opened that file. And do you know what, Craig? We have a time frame in which we think that the database got stolen, just looking at when it was released by the Tobermory Warriors. So that's going to help us if we look at, what usernames were accessing the file. Did anyone do anything unusual with it? Then that's going to be really helpful with our investigation. We can make even a short list of, well, it was only these 10 people that even opened the file in the first place that day.
So people, I can tell you, Daniel, are already going through the logs. Do you know who else has got a good login system? Cyber Skills Live. We can see exactly every step that you're doing as you go through this just now as well. You're going through the logs and we're looking at your logs of how you're searching theirs. So I can see quite a few people now, a lot of people from Gala Shields were going through the logs, but they've noticed something, Daniel. They identified a username that was coming up again and again. Hang on, I'll just look it up. The username. Okay, so the username of the very last person who viewed or edited that database, Daniel, was DSE5462. So DSE5462. They opened it, but even better than that, Daniel, they copied the file that evening.
That's a bit sus. Yeah, they've opened the file. They've even copied it on that evening. That's even outside of this. It's
outside of normal working hours as well. Someone just sent that in, yeah. Outside of working hours, copying the customer database file. Okay, we need to find out more about that username, Daniel.
Yeah, because it could be that someone on every week they back up that file and they need to copy it or something. But I think we definitely need to investigate it because that just seems
right, Daniel,
too perfect.
I was just jumping to conclusions there, wasn't I?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, we need to work out who is DSE5462, who owns this account, because it must be some member of staff. So, we can use the directory to look that up. I can see that L at Gala Shields Academy, you've just searched that.
Yeah, Mr. P from Leaving Academy also searched the staff directory to try and find that username. That sounds reasonable to me. That sounds reasonable to me as well.
Yeah, Freya's searched the staff directory, and I can see Freya's found that the account was deactivated, Craig, and quite a few other people have also reported that.
Okay.
So that account doesn't exist anymore. It's been deleted. So either the person's not there anymore, or it's been changed who owns it or something. But yeah, there's something strange happening with that account. Like, why is it being deactivated?
A few people have sent us in ideas about why they think the account might be deactivated. Callum thinks it might be because they quit. They might have quit their job. Hayden has said that it's to stop people finding out information.
It's a good theory. Riley's saying maybe it's being deactivated because they didn't want to be found out either.
That's a good one. Someone else is saying Lacey thinks to stop someone finding out, to cover their tracks. Mr. P thinks it's so it can't be tracked. Erin thinks they don't want to be found out. So these are all good sort of suspicious reasons. Like, this might be why. Often it's sometimes a more obvious reason than that. Quite a few people have been saying here things like maybe they quit, maybe they don't work at the place anymore.
Yeah.
That's probably more likely. Do you know what? We should ask who turned off, like who deactivated the account. Who would that be, Daniel? Like who would be in charge of that side?
Yeah, so I would say the person that's best to speak to is HR, so human resources. So they deal with all the sort of staff who comes, who goes, who has what account and things like that. So they'll be able to look up and see, who did that belong to and why does it not belong to them anymore? And yeah, hopefully they can get to the bottom of this. So
follow the instructions then, and I want you to try and find out why did this person leave the company, or why were they, if we can find out who they are and why are they deactivated, or did they leave? Is there something else?
Yeah. So do you know what? Just kind of like thinking about this next bit here. Rebecca's actually already had a conversation with HR. She just told me, just as you were saying that, Craig. So she's posted the chat log of the conversation that she had with Ashley in HR, who's I think she's in charge of HR for Tobermory Telecom. So that's a good source. And yeah, it says here that the ID belongs to someone called Anne McAndrew, who's no longer working for Tobermory Telecoms. I'm just gonna read this in a bit more detail. Craig, she was dismissed, and Ashley's provided the letter.
Okay.
The dismissal letter from HR. So let me just, right, I've just read it. So to sort of summarize what happened was there was a dispute about pay. So any of you that were talking about sort of mistreated or not getting paid enough, then I think you seem to be on the right lines with the way you're thinking. There was then an argument that turned it, by the sounds of it, really nasty. So this person, Anne, poured hot coffee over laptops and printers. And then that was breaching various...
That's unacceptable.
Yeah, that breaches the hot beverages in the workplace policy, just for a start. So she got fired. She was dismissed. And her last...
When was she dismissed?
So she got told she was dismissed, and then about a week later, it was her last day, and her last day was the 5th of February, right? And this database got copied on the 4th of February. So literally the night before. So she left the day after it got stolen. So
that is no way is that coincidence, Daniel. We need to investigate this further. I want to see all the communications from Anne's account. I want to see all the emails. We need to have a look at that.
Yeah, well, good news, Craig. Rebecca's been on the case. She's got a copy of the mailbox, and we can take a look at it and see like who was emailing her, who was she emailing in that last week that she had at the job. So yeah, take a look through her mailbox. See our
digital forensics team here, Daniel. They've all they're already going through our emails here. Mr. Mawson's just found something suspicious there as well. Aidan has been reading Anne's emails and found something suspicious. Thank you, Aidan.
Yeah, Miller has too. So's Thomas. Stephen as well, finding a suspicious email. So's Jack and
Egan
Nora.
As well. I think hopefully we can get the suspicious emails sent over to us.
Yes, it's just coming just now. Let me just open it up. Here we go. So this is one that she sent, and it was sent on the 4th of February at just after 10 o'clock at night. So that was the same evening that this file got copied. And Craig, look who it's to. It's to drop at ballamoreywarriors.onion.
Look at that. It's a message to the Ballamory Warriors. That's that cyber criminal gang. What does it say? It says, look, here is the customer database. It's a fresh copy. Make Tobermory Telecoms pay for this. Daniel, it's got an attachment. Look, it's a CSV file. It's a structured database. A customer, it's their database, Daniel. You did it. We found this vital piece of evidence. This is exactly what we're looking for. You did it. You found the leak.
Yeah, well, you found the data that you've spotted the data leak. Well done, everyone. So our digital forensics team, they're going to look into this in more detail. So we need to cross-check the evidence to confirm it really was her on that account on that evening. So they'll check with CCTV and stuff like that. But in terms of the digital forensics side, I think we have solved the case here, right? It's such a clean series of events. Like, Craig, would you be able to sort of summarize what we've just found in the last 40 minutes?
Yeah, like what did you manage to achieve in the last 40 minutes? Well, you discovered that there'd been a data leak, and then you confirmed that it was genuine, that it was a real data leak that hadn't been faked. Then you used your digital forensics techniques to assess the severity of the situation, how much trouble were Tobermory Telecoms in. Finally, you checked the logs to try and find any suspicious activity, and you noticed that Anne, I wouldn't say it's Anne, but someone who has access to Anne's account downloaded a copy of the file and shared it. You followed that evidence trail and you discovered an incriminating email. Well done on helping us investigate this data leak. Hopefully this has given you the experience of what it would be like to be a digital forensics specialist. We do, Daniel, have one more task that we want people to complete.
Yep, there's one more thing you need to do, and that is to share your feedback about what you did today. So on your report card screen at the bottom, there's a continue button. If you press that, there'll be 2 or 3 questions just to ask you about the activity. And then if you click it again, it will take you back to that report card. And then of course, you could tweet it to us or take a photo of it or something like that, just to kind of like record what it was that what you managed to solve in the last 40 minutes here. We definitely couldn't have done it without all of you helping us out.
And if you enjoyed our video, Daniel, we're on YouTube.
Yes.
Why have we not said it yet?
Well, like and subscribe. We're on YouTube.
That's it. Yeah,
that will really help boost up our profile, but also it means you'll get notified for all of our future events that we're running. And
our next live lesson is going to be on the 7th of October, and we're going to be using data science skills combined with art skills to basically to code your own data selfie. So you're going to create a selfie made out of personal data. So if you're interested in finding out a bit more about data science, if you want to get hands-on with Python code and you want to maybe create some data-driven art, then join us and some of our guests on the 7th of October for that as well. We hope to see you then.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to making some data selfies and seeing what you all create as well. But that kind of wraps up our session today. So I'd just like to say thank you to Kirsty for answering those questions. Sorry we didn't have more time. The investigation was really thrilling. We didn't have time to get too many to you, but thanks for answering those. Rebecca Reed, thank you very much for tying the investigation together and sort of providing us with the evidence as we needed. That was brilliant. Thank you for doing that. And then thank you to you for, solving the case, spotting the data leak. So it's bye from Craig.
Bye-bye.
And it's bye from me as well. See you next time.